Good morning and welcome to Coffee Time with Kauffman, the comfortable place to talk about women's leadership. Today, I am interviewing Arfa Haque as we discuss seeing the world through a lens of curiosity. Hi, Arfa.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. So nice to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Arfa is an automotive engineer currently working to improve logistical processes in her current industry. She is born and raised in a country that holds hospitality as one of its values, and that country is Bangladesh. Arfa came to the United States with a passion to learn, build cars, and give back. Intersecting her passion, talent, and hospitality values, she is currently working to serve communities by amplifying others' voices and simplifying processes in the automotive industry. Before we get into seeing the world through a lens of curiosity with Arfa, my name is Maria Kauffman and I'm a life coach. Today I am drinking my favorite dark roast. What are you drinking, Arfa?
Well, usually I drink coffee, but because I have a froggy throat and it's allergy season here in Kansas, I'm drinking ginger tea. Just ginger
Ooh,
tea.
sounds lovely, actually. Cool. Thank you so much. So, tell us about some of your earliest signs of genius as you were growing up.
I wouldn't call it early sign of genius, but I would say that early sign of the fact that I was an extremely mischievous kid.
I love it. Tell
Um,
us.
to be the fact that I was born and raised in a huge family. I had a lot of cousins when I was born, and most of them were all brothers. And I was the first granddaughter. So naturally, I got to do and ask many questions and just do whatever I want whenever I want. And so I ventured the world and asked questions along and just kind of dived into my obliviousness and figured things out. So I think it started from that. I I always had some kind of support because I had a baby brother, and then my parents who always wanted me to, I guess, discover myself. And so when I was like, I want to learn art. And so they sent me to art school, or I want to play tennis. And so they sent me to play tennis. I want to participate in a math Olympiad. And so they, made sure that I got all this kind of tutoring and every resources that I needed to go into that. So I think it has to be with a lot of support and attention I got as the only daughter or the granddaughter growing up.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. So, you talked about a lot of things art, anything from art to math. And it sounded like the world was kind of your oyster. Was there anything interesting there that was sticking out a little bit more of your interests? Or that's a pretty awesome range for
I think
someone.
for some reason I always liked science, physics and math, but I wasn't really good at physics. For some reason I was good at chemistry and I never enjoyed chemistry.
Ah.
Maybe because I never got it naturally and so I spend more time studying it, but um it was always something that asked a question or where I would reverse engineer to get an answer. And so it was always finding answers. Anything that was not given to me, like the question and the answer, that is what caught my interest.
Cool.
So it has to be somewhere wherever I could find an answer or look for an answer or hunt for an answer. I would naturally move towards to. I think art wise, I liked creativity. I think I was naturally drawn to creating new things, or as even at my work my boss is like, well, if you want a good presentation, just send it to Arfa and she'll get it done in an hour. So I think I just it's something natural. I don't know, maybe I get it from my mom because she is so artistic and creative, but definitely more naturally gravitated towards math and science, physics specifically, not really into chemistry or biology.
Right. Well, and when you talk about physics and chemistry, that was probably a little later in school.
Actually, see, I went to a British curriculum, and so it was a private English medium school, and so it was always very strict with education. We were exposed to early physics and chemistry very early, way before middle school. So we didn't get to choose or go or segregate that in high school. We kind of knew what physics was and chemistry was really early on middle school. So
Wow, that is pretty awesome, actually. So literally, it's like the world is your oyster, and if you're curious and you're just consuming this, yeah, it's pretty awesome. It sounds busy too.
it is, and sometimes because it exposes you so much to so many details at a very young age, a
Mm,
lot of time it can overwhelm a lot of students, which is why they may not realize that they're good at chemistry or they're good at biology or they're good at physics. They get overwhelmed and they want to move to a career that is easy, that may not be as challenging. And so maybe if most kids were or most students were introduced to all these difficult concepts in a smoother way, or they were given more time, they would have started loving the science or the art of physics or math more. But I mean, it's a good and bad side. I think I'm glad that I was exposed to it at a very young age. But maybe if I was exposed to it later, I would have liked chemistry or biology a little more. I would have liked history or geography a little more.
right.
But yeah,
Right. Well, it sounds like people in life take their journey, and eventually we find our passions, I guess. So that's
right.
interesting, and yeah, it is. When you see the world through a lens of curiosity, it does foster a lot more comfort in learning. Even if
Yes.
it's a challenging subject. So I love the commentary there. Cool. So as you're getting, either through the early years of school or even later in high school, were you thinking about a career at all, or were you just kind of just still treating the world as your oyster? What did that look like?
To be honest, I think before getting to my high school, I've had that turning point in my life where my biggest coach in my life, career wise, was always my father. And I think losing him sent me into this weird chaos. I think everything was just impulsive. I was in a weird kerfuffle, if you would. And I was like, well, do I want to be a pilot? I can be a pilot because I love heights. Or I can be a scientist because I love maths. Or I can be a lawyer and, be the voice for other people. So I did take law in my high school. So I had science, I had business courses, and I also had law courses because in British curriculum board exam, which is A levels or O levels, you can take multiple subjects. And so I had everything. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Why do one thing when you can do everything? But uh, but I knew one thing for sure, that I wanted to come here and then figure things out. And I enjoyed math and science more. When I came here, I had double major. When I moved to the United States, I had aerospace engineering as my first major and mathematics, because I was like, okay, I can be an engineer or I can go to science. I can be a scientist or an engineer. We'll figure it out by junior year. And then I moved to mechanical engineering. I think it has to be a lot with exposure to the curriculum and also the clubs I joined.
So you're talking about college.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I kind of just fast zoomed through high school because it's
Yeah.
very blurry. My whole high school was finding myself and me kind of diving into my curiosity and being like, I have a great voice. I mean, in the sense that I speak things, whatever comes to my mind. I try to be a voice for other people. It has to be with my rebellious nature that comes from being the only daughter. So I can be a lawyer, or I can be an engineer because I do reverse engineering really well. Or I can be a scientist because I can sit in front of a big blackboard and keep solving equations till the end of time. So my high school was just a lot of escaping and then just being curious and trying to figure out what I really wanted to do in a very constrained financial budget, I would say, because I had very limited budget, and being raised by a homemaker because my mom was a homemaker and she was not a businesswoman or a working woman. I had to make sure that I tutor students, collect extra money, and then took extra courses to see if, well, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? So it was, I did it in a very restrained budget. If I could go back in time, I would probably not be as crazy and chaotic, but I would still dive into it. I would still take multiple things to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah, I like to call that a very rich life, in that, maybe not financially, but in experience and knowledge at an early age. I
And I
mean,
think the only um, lucky factor or the privilege factor for me was that my mother was very supportive. She was like, "Go for it, do it. You want to do this? Go for it. Go learn it. Go take this class. Go take this exam." So I think that was one of the rich factors in my life is having a support factor that didn't
yeah.
stop me.
Yeah, I love to hear that, and very, very important, yes. So at an early age and even through those formative years, you're basically getting a green light every time.
Yes.
It's pretty powerful. So then what did that look like from high school? You know, you're trying to select a college. Do you remember anything about that process and how you came to your
Oh,
decisions?
Oh, yes. I think it was a very emotional process because it was more like I didn't want to most of my friends were taking exams in the public universities or private universities in the country because not a lot of students want to go for undergraduate in a foreign land. Most of the time it's masters or, graduate level courses. And so I was just and for the friends I did have, they had enough money and financial support and, parents, and so they could hire agencies or agents to help them through the process. I was lucky because I had a friend. I had a friend, Shaika, who was there with me through that process. I had very limited budget, and applying to different schools required, application fees. They give you waiver, but then you have to submit a lot of financial papers. So you have to submit a lot of insurance and all those papers. And to collect those papers from government offices, you need to pay those offices. And so in every process, I required a lot of money. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to list down only a few universities that I know for sure I will go. It's not going to be a gamble that let's try, let's see if this works out. And so that's what it is. And I looked for not just affordable universities, but also universities where I could have an affordable lifestyle. So when I come here, what is it going to be apartment wise, food wise, transportation wise, I did not really look into culture, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I would have, I would have never come to Kansas.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but there was all those factors, and I think Wichita State, the big reason for me choosing this university of how rich it is when it comes to research, be it in aerospace side or mechanical engineering side or even biomedical right now, it's known as the air capital. And I was like, well, this is it. It may be uh, a land where, you know, there is nothing, as they say, or a flat land is what they say, but I'm going there for education. I'm going there to build myself, and I think this is where I'll start. And so my friend, she was there with me when we came here together, and it was a great journey actually. It was kind of emotional, but I think it
Oh.
was a great start.
So the one that helped you with that whole process was the one that you both ended up coming to Kansas to with?
Yes, so she and I both came here and together. And she was here until she moved out to the east side because her major and her career was a little more broad where she could. And I just stayed here because I was like, well, I'll finish my major and I'll try to get a job. There are great industries, there are great manufacturing industries in Kansas. So
Yeah.
my career
So
allowed me to stay here.
did she have similar interests?
No, she mostly had computer science,
Okay.
more towards coding and I would say tech, but I might be wrong. It's been a while.
Yeah, so you it was kind of together, but obviously very, very separate. That's kind of nice. It's
Yes.
nice to at least have a friend to go through some of those tricky transitions
Yes.
with.
I think at that time I really needed a friend, and I was glad and lucky to have her.
I was gonna ask, yeah, what can you tell us or what would you like to share about that whole transition? That must be, like you said, the culture you didn't know.
Yeah. I think pro tip, Hollywood is not telling you the truth. Um,
Right.
no, honestly, when I came here, most of the people on campus, they were all very friendly.
Yeah.
But Kansas itself is a conservative state. And I say it not in political sense, but you have a Muslim community, you have South Asian communities, very small, very into themselves. And so if you're kind of, again, a curious person that wants to be part of every community. So I didn't just go to a Muslim community to interact or meet people, or a South Asian community. I went to Asian communities. I went to African American communities. I went to I wanted to know everyone. I wanted to know every single person in Kansas. And so there were a lot of pushbacks, and that's when I was like, oh, people probably don't like me. I don't know why. Everybody liked me in my high school. I was pretty likable. And then, you have that shock where, yes, people are nice, but they're not willing to let you step your foot on the door when it comes to corporate, because of how the corporate culture is.
Right.
Except for my company, I think they did a really good job in making sure they maintain that diversity. So it was just that shock where, oh, it's not how they show it in movies, huh? Interesting. It's not how it's in
Yeah.
California. Interesting.
Right.
And I traveled. I went to a different state, and every time I was like, oh, I go to Wichita, Kansas, Wichita State University in Wichita, Kansas, and they were like, where is that? I'm like, uh, 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 Kansas, like the center of the United States. What?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. Well, tell us a little bit more about Bangladesh and the values of hospitality.
Bangladesh, I think, is a beautiful country, and it has advanced so much. It got its independence in 1971, so you can consider it as a very new
Oh,
country. But when you
yeah.
go there and you see how it has advanced, not just in terms of building or culture wise or education, also in the side where there are more tech companies coming in, there are more startups that are coming in. You see more students, you see more appearances from people. It's growing in every side. I think even now, that the last time I saw a movie, the Bangladeshi movie, and it was great, and I was like, wow, we have we've come so far. And I feel kind of selfish saying that, because I've not been in that journey for the last 7 years or 8 years of my country becoming so big, but still somewhere I definitely feel proud. Even though I'm a weird floater because I'm foreign for this land where I'm living, and I'm now foreign for the land where I come from, I still feel that pride that, yes, I'm from a country that's constantly growing. You know where you get your Zara clothes that you pay so much for? It's my country.
Right.
So,
Well, I think too, your journey speaks for who you are and where you came from.
mhm,
So, I'm sure there's always going to be a Bangladesh part of you because that's who you
yes.
are. But having the courage to follow your path and to
Mhm.
explore the world speaks a lot, I say.
Thank you. I think,
Yeah.
and hospitality wise, we take hospitality extremely seriously. Like, back home, it's how whenever we have people come over, we don't just have 10, 15 different dishes, regardless of which class of people we are, if we can afford. We serve them food. We make sure that they're comfortable. And
Huh.
it's even my in-laws, they're from Chittagong, and or Chattogram, we say, and they take hospitality extremely seriously. It's like, no, we have to make sure the people are extremely comfortable. We keep our guests our first priority. When you go there, you don't feel like you are a foreigner, or you're not from the country. You'll feel like that you are part of their family.
Wow. That is pretty intense.
It,
Tell me a
it
little bit
is.
more. What would it be like if I came over? What would
First of all, if you came over, for example, if you came over to my home, first of all, you'll have your whole meal decided for the day. We'll have your whole itinerary decided for you, that, oh, this is where we're going to take you. We're going to take you to shopping, but we're not going to let you shop. We're going to buy things for you.
what?
And yes, we've had, every time my dad's business partners, they came over, they didn't want to leave because they were like, oh no, we have to leave, but we'll be back again in 2 or 3 months. And you feel like you're part of the family, because by the time you leave, the aunts and uncles and the neighbors and the cousins. I don't know if it's just my family or where I grew up in the part of the city, but this is how it was. Every guest that came in, they kind of became part of the family.
Oh, so they get to I'd meet everybody.
Oh yes, everybody would show up, like my neighbors and my aunts and uncles, my cousins, their friends.
Oh,
uh, it's a great organized chaos.
it sounds wonderful.
Yes.
And what about the food? What types of food? What can you tell me there? Would it be anything that I'd be scared
Oh,
of? Is
no, 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 no. You'll either love it so much that you won't go back to eating normal food,
oh,
or you will. It depends on how spicy the food is.
I'll take
But
a little bit of spicy.
yes, I mean that's fine. I think from the part of the town where I was, which is Old Dhaka or Puran Dhaka, we have rich food. I don't know if you've heard of biryanis and pulaus and chicken roasts and oh, I think my mouth is gonna start watering, but
Me too. I love food. I do love food.
and you can get and if you appear as a guest, we'll probably have a big goat for you and a whole chicken and
Oh,
whatnot. I think if you're a vegan, I don't know how far our country has gone into making cuisines for people who are vegan, but I'm sure that with our spices and our amazing blend of flavors, we'll be able to come up something for vegans too.
right. Awesome. So are you able to get some of your types of food in Kansas at all? Or what is that like? I mean, that's always my thing too, is,
Right?
I'm pretty limited on my diet. So
Yes.
going abroad sometimes, I love to explore and I'm always curious, but it can be different. Yeah.
See, when I came to Kansas, there are a lot of South Asian people. And yes, there are places you can get South Asian food. And I'm saying South Asian because they don't serve authentically Bangladeshi food or they don't serve authentic Pakistani food or authentic Indian food. It's kind of like a weird mixture that they have. I mean, we're blessed that at least we have that option here. There are multiple restaurants, and Texas is always 5 hours away, so uh, we we had something to serve our craving. I think in that sense, I was blessed and I was lucky that if I wanted, I could go and you can always look up YouTube and make it. I did not know how to cook. I did not know how to cook anything. And when I say anything, like even boil an egg, I remember when I was coming with my friend, my mom specifically told my friend, please take care of Arfa, make sure she's eating. She doesn't know how to cook and she'll probably skip meals.
Oh,
And she took that responsibility because she used to cook for me. She's like, she used to cook and tell me, Arfa, this is how you do it. I'm like, okay, got it.
wow.
So
So a very interesting transition then, huh?
I think cooking is the only thing I wasn't really curious about
Till you had to be, right?
till I had to be. Yeah, till I had to
Yeah,
be.
interesting. So tell us more about college. What was that like? You started with aerospace, what was that whole dynamic?
So, going to college, I was I was everywhere. I was an 18-year-old that was still very excited, very hyper, always wanting to learn and meet new people. And so I started by not just going to classes, but also making friends in those classes. And so I made friends in my aerospace who we used to group study with. But then when I was transitioning to mechanical engineering, that kind of left. And mechanical engineering is a very male dominated field and you don't get to see a lot of women students or female students, especially in Kansas. I mean, right now the number has gone up, thankfully. But so my biggest exposure, my biggest support system was, being part of Society of Women Engineers because that's where I could connect to other women engineering students. I could connect to alumni who were engineering students and are now working professionally as engineers. I got to, be part of Muslim Student Association where I met Muslims on campus, and then Bangladeshi Student Association where I met Bangladeshi students on campus. And I was kind of also talking to other international student associations where I met other international students. So I think it was a lot of just going to multiple places. And then I was so overwhelmed because that's when the actual shock and the actual homesickness started. And then
Oh,
so it went up like really high peak and then just straight up down, like just straight down. And then it was, not being able to focus, not being able to do anything, being overwhelmed. I was getting texts like, oh, Arfa, we have this event. We really missed you. Because I used to be that person that was there everywhere. And then all of a sudden, I don't want to go out. I don't want to see
oh,
anyone.
oh,
And part of it had to be with, I think, my sophomore year slash freshman year, the concealed carry gun thing was legalized, or they allowed concealed carry gun on campus. And we did have a student that was shot, and we
Oh,
knew from our community. And so I was just like, okay, no, I don't know if I want to be here. And that was just my shutdown moment. So freshman year, great. Sophomore year, out, completely out, just
oh,
phased out. And junior year, just trying to pick myself up, you know, becoming a 20-year-old and realizing, oh no, I don't want to adult, but I have
right,
to.
right. And
So
so
it
much
was
going on, I would imagine, too, in at
right,
college, with
right.
studies and other things. So it's a challenging
And
time.
then, not being able to go back home because of the temporary Muslim ban where, oh, if I go home, I won't be able to come back to the country.
Oh,
Oh, I don't get to see my mom and she's the only parent I have, not being able to see my brother. And it's just, but I did go back once, but I had to quickly come back because of how intense it was getting. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back.
oh.
I don't care. I'm just going to take the risk. So I took that risk, and I'm glad I went back home, saw everyone, and came back with more energy like, this is it. That's okay. We got this.
Aw, nice. Yeah, you just kinda needed a little bit of home
Yeah.
to get you back. Aw,
Yeah.
awesome.
So a little bit of touch.
Yeah. So aerospace to mechanical, and then you're going through a bit of a rough part, just, being there and soaking in
Hmm.
and feeling good about the whole experience. What did junior year start to look like to senior
So
year?
that was junior year was a year of a lot of self-doubt because, that's when you apply to internship because you want to get professional experience. You want to get hands-on experience. And that's when the actual identity, I don't want to say identity crisis. That's where it's like, well, why am I not getting it? I have these scores, I have these courses, I have recommendations. I was
Right.
getting in interviews, but I was not getting the
The
job.
jobs.
I tried doing on campus where we had research and everything, and I got the interviews and everything, and then all of a sudden, oh, we don't take international students because of this, but you have international students in your team. So it was a lot of like, it was very demotivating. It was a lot
Sure.
of like, well, you had people suggesting you, yeah, mechanical engineering is a lot competitive. It's not a women field. And, you're a woman that's openly Muslim. Try computer science or try computer engineering. And I'm like,
Oh, they were telling you
"Mm."
to Oh, interesting. Like, what are these just normal people, or are these actually people that you're, trying to get a job with? Who's
Oh,
telling you
no, no,
this?
no. It's just normal people around
Uh,
me,
oh,
friends,
yeah, yeah,
community members, trying to help me, trying to, suggest something for me, trying to advise me that,
yeah,
maybe they don't have you because they think you can't do hands-on work because you won't be on the assembly line doing all the core manufacturing work. That's why. And so, computer engineering might be a field, computer science or tech. So all of those suggestions just coming across, and they're like, no, I don't
yeah.
think so.
It's, good for you. So you have the wherewithal to kinda know, I hear what you're saying. These people are probably trying to protect you, or,
Yes.
make
Yeah.
life a little easier for you. But in the
Yes.
end, you really have to follow your heart.
Right. And I did try again. My curiosity led me to actually taking coding classes online. I took, data. I think it was data camp where I took online coding classes, and I was like, oh, this is so much fun. And then I'm like, yeah, but I don't think I would like to do it as a profession. Like this is fun because I know what it is, but I don't think I will be a good professional when it comes to this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be behind the computer. And I'm not demeaning it. I think it's, great for people who do it, but I have to be on the line. I have to touch the parts, the harnesses, the wires, the hardware stuff, and be part of the whole process.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, once
and so I
again,
was
just to
like,
be true to yourself. I mean, it's
yes,
important sometimes to explore, because if you don't explore, sometimes you don't know. And it's nice to
right.
be curious, but when you get to that space, especially early in a career, how
Hmm.
do you know until you really know?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
so good for you.
yeah,
So
so
did
I
you
think
were you able to get an internship during junior, senior year, or was what
I got one call for an internship, but the only reason I didn't do it is because of how far it was and it wasn't a good pay and that I would have to relocate temporarily. And so
yeah.
did not do it. I compared, I was like, well, financially, well, experience-wise, that's okay. And so how I tried to combat that was I took more difficult elective master's level courses. I was like, well,
Mm.
in the future, if companies want to hire me, they're like, well, you don't have internship experience. What do you have? I have robotic courses experience where I did projects on robots, and it was a master's level courses. And so I was trying to find strategies. I was like, you know what happens when this happens? And I was curious too. So I just, took more difficult courses. I took injury biomechanics, and all those difficult courses. I remember my professor telling me, Arfa, I'm not going to be lenient with you. I'm going to grade you the way I grade my other students because you're the only undergraduate student. I'm like, that's fine. Give me a C.
Good.
I'll be fine with it. You know?
Good, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. That's what I was as you told me that, I thought, very, very strategic and good for you.
Yes.
So if the opportunity doesn't really work out, there's always another path maybe to open up more doors.
Right.
So good for
Right.
you.
Always. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. So what happened now? I'm on my edge of my seat. I can't wait to hear what happens next then.
So I think next senior year, I I took on a lot of project-based courses, and I took a course which was an innovation course, and I really highly recommend students going into freshman and sophomore year to take this course, or to take a course where you have kind of a competition. And it was a Coke Innovation Challenge competition, and I took it in my last semester. I wish I would have taken it in my second last semester, because in my last semester when I took it, our team won. It was one of the winning teams, but I could not carry on because I had graduated. And so my team carried on without me.
Oh,
They had to. I
yeah.
couldn't be part of the planning process or the pitching process or, designing process. But I think senior year it was a COVID year. That's when COVID hit.
Oh,
And that was also the year where I was like, okay, this is the last year. And my advisor telling me, Arfa, you can wait until the next year. You don't have to take 12-hour courses in summer and 18-hour courses in fall. I'm like, no, no, no. We're finishing it this year. We're doing it this year. We're doing it strong. And next year, I'm going to step my foot on the door with an actual engineering job because I'm not delaying it more.
yeah, good
And
for you.
so it was it was a tough year, but
Yeah.
um, everything was online. However, because we were engineering, we were hybrid. So you had online lectures and courses where you would fall asleep, and not
Yeah.
proud of that, but it's just one after another. And then you had to
Yeah.
be on campus for exams. You had to be on campus for the labs because you can't do it at home. Um, and so it was being at home studying and then running to campus to get things or meeting your teammates. So it was a lot of more running because before, when I went to campus for classes, I would be there at 7 a.m. on campus and I would leave at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. to go home. But now I'm going back and forth. And because I worked on project with companies, I would have to travel to sites to meet the companies. So it was a fantastic year. Honestly, I think I had most fun in my senior year. It was extremely stressful, but it was so much fun going through that stress. And, you had everyone just overwhelmed, frustrated at the peak of their emotion because of COVID, because of restrictions. People didn't like wearing masks. People didn't like following some of the rules when they're on campus. So you saw people on the edge of breaking down and just outbursting, and it was actual human interaction, actual I would say team building that happened that year. And what was exciting for me was I strategically made sure that my senior design team, I had a completely girl team. And I remember one of the team members like, Arfa, we're all girls, we're never going to get this project from this company is never going to. I'm like, we'll be fine. I think that's what they're going to use to give us that project, that, oh, we have a project giving to students who are all female. And so that was, I think, the big thing, and the best thing for me is throughout my journey, I didn't have a lot of female friends or female team members. I probably had just one. And now in the senior year, I'm working an all female engineering team, and we did
Woohoo.
great. We all ended up with A's. And so it was
Awesome. And you got the project and everything. That is, I
Yes.
love to hear it. Where you can go from one place where people are trying to say, oh no, go in this direction. It might be better, it might be easier or more successful. And you stand your ground. And obviously it sounds like too, maybe I'm assuming, what was it like? Because you said, you're starting to get more social in the SWE organization and that stuff early in college. But
Yes.
then somehow you're out of your shell and you're connecting with these people. Did you really come out of your shell? Tell us.
So thank you for bringing me back to that because it completely went towards my courses. But yes, so Society of Women Engineers, it helped me connect not with just women engineers, but also find confident as an engineer, because often as women engineers, you're asked to prove your project, you prove your conclusion more. I don't know if that still works out, but you're asked for more, let's just say, more chances to defend your conclusions, or you're given the easy task. Oh yeah, you can write the whole 10-page conclusion or summary of our project, or you're not allowed to do the designing or anything. And so that helped us get those confident, and how how to increase skills, how to be more, um, I guess, more fluent in different online platforms, like, okay, LinkedIn, your resume. But then what happened with Society of Women Engineers is, because of, I guess, the meeting times, and again, because I started getting overwhelmed because I joined them in my sophomore year, I kind of went back to my shell because I was like, well, I don't see another Muslim woman. I don't see another woman of color. I see female engineers, and that empowers me. But who do I talk to if I'm like, well, I'm not comfortable doing this, or I'm not comfortable saying this? Um, and so that's when um, I went to a summer leadership institute for developing leadership skills, because I was curious. How am I as a leader? Am I a leader or a follower? Can I lead people? And so there I met amazing mentors and facilitators. And one of them was Rainey, love her. And she was the one who actually told me, hey, Arfa, you seem like you're really into leaderships, and you seem like a good professional. There is someone, Sanya, she is trying to have she's trying to co-found, or she's trying to have a sorority on campus, but it's now starting as just a Muslim professional group or organization. It's not, but it's going to go through the phase of becoming a sorority. And, there's not a lot of girls, just like 3 or 4. And I was like, okay, I'll contact her. And I forgot about it. I didn't contact. But I'm so glad Sanya, she's the mother of our organization, or sorority, which I'm getting into. Uh, and she contacted me. She's like, hey, I've heard about you from Rainy and everything. Would you like to come for a meeting and stuff? And I went there the first meeting. It was a good meeting, where a game of going on, or something about where are you from and all of that. And I was like, okay, cool. Just like another organization. And then I started getting more and more invites for, okay, let's meet for resume workshops, or this and that. I'm like, okay, I think now we have something promising. Now we have something that really speaks more volume. But I'm overwhelmed because I'm part of Society of Women Engineers. I'm part of Shaka Racing, where we're doing, collegiate level racing cars. I'm working on campus because I need to keep working. Um, and I have all these courses. I don't know if I can invest my time into this. I don't know if I have anything to give. I have something to take. I can take so much of your time and what you have, but I don't know if I can give anything. But then something happened. It was the shooting that happened in Australia, in the mosque, and so we had a peaceful vigil and everything. And up until that time, I wasn't very sure. I was like, as a Muslim woman, what can I do? What can I give you? Because most Muslim women, they were, either in medical careers, or there was probably just one engineering. So I was like, I don't think I can give a lot. I don't think I can mentor, because I don't think other Muslim women, I don't know if they're going to be as rebellious as me, or, want to be out there as me. But I was so wrong. Um, and so when that vigil happened for that shooting, I was like, no, I'm staying here. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a part of this. I'm going to give my more energy and prioritize this because I may not be able to give my 100%, but even if I can give my 2% to somebody or something, I will make sure I do it. And it was a lot of me being like, oh, I can't, I don't know if I want to do it. I can do it. But my sisters, my
Mhm.
sorority sisters, they helped me through it. They helped me emotionally, helping me build myself professionally. And finally, and we had our sorority initiated on campus, and it is the first Muslim sorority in the state of Kansas, the fourth chapter in the United States, because the first one was in Texas. And now we're growing more and more. The
Nice.
family is growing more and more. We have our recent initiation, I think, was at NYU chapter, and it's
Cool. Wow.
it, that was that pivot
Wow.
point where I just became a different person, but maybe not a different person, but just came out of my shell or cocoon. Like, no, I am a Muslim woman who's proud, a professional Muslim woman, and I am not just amplifying voices of other women engineers or other people. Muslim, my identity is first. For our sorority, the line that we say proudly is that Iman is our identity and Ihsan is our legacy. Iman is basically your faith, the core of you. And Ihsan is excellence. The excellence that
Mm.
we bring, not just as a professional, not just an engineer or a nurse or a doctor or a scientist or an artist, the excellence that we bring within our community, how we serve our community, because service is one of the values, other than sisterhood and professionalism. And so that just helped me give myself more, or, uncover this part of me that I did not know existed.
Wow, that is powerful and beautiful and everything in between. That's an amazing story. Thanks for sharing. And so this is like junior, senior year. So you're
Mhm.
somehow you're able to, I'll say, squeeze it in. So, you had, it sounded like you
Yes.
had that decision made, like, oh, I got a lot. I don't even know if I can give. I certainly can take even,
Yes.
but even that 2%, it's interesting because when you're in those supportive communities,
Mhm.
even though it seems like it's more taxing, it's really, it feeds you too,
Yes.
and it helps you.
Right.
Wow. So
And that
this is,
2% consistently, sorry, that
yeah.
2% that you give out consistently, that can become a bigger percentage. If you're consistent, just that with that little bit of involvement, that can turn out big. And honestly, if it wasn't my sisters who were very patient with me and very patient with all these gazillion things happening at the same time in my life, I would have just backed down and be like, you know what, I don't think I can do this. I mean, I don't think I have it in me. We're like, no, no, Arfa, you can do this. You have to do this. And I think it was when the mother of our sorority, Sanya, she was like, Arfa, I want you to take the role of public relations. I'm like, have you seen my schedule? I cannot do this. I will break. And she's like, no, 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 you can do this. I'm not forcing you. Think about it. Think about it. You can do this. You're natural when it comes to social media stuff. You got this. I'm like, no, 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 no. I will fail. She's like, think about it. And I
Oh,
thought about it and I did it.
how about that? Yeah, because
Yeah,
even 2%, somehow you
2%.
squeeze it in and it is powerful. It's like a drop in the ocean, right?
Yes.
Very, very important. Cool. So, I mean, what an amazing, I'll say, resume, even without the experience. So, you're doing all these things,
Mhm.
uh, obviously getting a great education and networking well and contributing as a leader. So, what was that senior year into your career starting to look like?
Um, so senior year was a lot of projects, as I said, and a lot of just understanding, okay, and applying. I started applying really early, but because of that COVID timeline and hiring freezes, it was another thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give up. I'm going to apply to every industry. And this, and I even applied to companies in UK. I was like, what if I leave to United Kingdom? How would that be? I didn't hear anything back, obviously, but it was just out of curiosity. Well, you never know, because right now I am trying to jump into a professional career where I want to come out as an engineer. I want to put my foot on the door and everything. And so I applied to a lot of companies and did not hear anything back. It was My favorite company, Toyota, I actually got 5 different interviews, but didn't make it, didn't go through it. And so it was a lot of position that I was applying for, and they're not looking anymore because that position has died. I understand because the companies were going through a lot of that period where they didn't have enough budget to hire. And so it was through that process where I'm like, okay. And so finally, I'm like, I'm going to just start working on a research, to see if I can start my master's with my professor, or, I don't know, a PhD or something. And so that I started doing that. I didn't want to just sit and apply for jobs. I wanted to use that time and see that, hey, I wanted to be a scientist. I think this is a perfect time to start, doing some kind of research work. And so I started doing that, and I got one job 6 months into my research, and it was as a maintenance engineer, and it wasn't a good job. I was like, okay, no, I need to do that because I need to start earning money. I can't be doing free things. And so it started coming on my way. I never stopped applying. I never stopped learning because even online, I was taking multiple different courses, trying to just broaden my horizon, trying to just broaden my resume, and uh, you know, be a Miss Know It All, but and just use that to apply to different roles and positions. And finally, last year, I got a call, for a engineering position, and I don't know what my manager saw. He said that he thought my energy was very effective, or it was very I'm forgetting the word, but
Well, effective is, yeah, I could see that.
effective but infectious, right? Sorry,
Ah,
infectious. It was very infectious, and so he wanted that in his team because it's a new team that he's making of industrial engineer, logistics engineers, and he wanted that energy and experience. And I was like, okay, okay, cool, I'll join. You
wow.
know, great. And
Yeah.
so, excuse me, it was a lot of just wondering, just never giving up. I remember because I started living with my aunt the last few years from my senior year when COVID hit and everything. And so, I remember telling her that, Toyota said no again, or this company didn't get back to me. And at that time, um, I was so desperate to just get a job, to get in that period where I did anything and everything. I reached out to recruiters, and I networked a lot. I met a lot of people professionally in the career. So I know a lot of people in those companies. I don't need jobs because now they're like, Arfa, we have this position. I'm like, yes, but I was looking for a job last year.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, you never know how these are gonna go, and those are really important. I love that you're talking about this and you're just trying everything because, that sometimes is what it takes.
Right?
And it's interesting how, like, it's almost like that the hiring manager that saw how infectious your energy is, because,
Hmm.
just by doing that work and taking action to find those jobs and to uncover those gems, if you will,
Right.
definitely eventually pays off. I know I went through the same thing. I would do anything for money. I was kind of driven more, for money because
Yeah.
I had to pay for college
Right.
myself. But
Yes.
eventually you get your foot in the door and then you start to pave your own way and it takes you
Mhm.
places. So
Right.
tell us about what you like about what you're doing right now.
I think the best thing I like about my job is that it does not restrict you in a box. It doesn't say that, okay, this is the box, this is all you're expected to do. Um, we have that opportunity because we're a team of 4 people right now. And then I have my supervisor and my manager, and but team of four and contributors, engineers, or um, logistics team, if you would say. And y- you're constantly not just solving things or solving problems that have been there for a long time unaddressed, but you're also getting used to that new culture that the company's introducing. You're bringing new process. You're trying to make process simpler for people who are building what we're selling, because not everyone that's on the floor has a degree. Not everyone, again, because the company that I work for, it's an automotive company where we make industrial vehicles, and our operators, they have 12-minute takt time. They're going fast, fast, fast. They can't waste time on motions, on grabbing this and that. we need to simplify processes for them. We need to simplify things for them. We need to make their job easier because they're doing something repetitively for 12 hours a day under a time. And so and you build that relationship. I think we're in this position where, as for me as an engineer, I work with upper management where, okay, this is what we want in our project. And I also, excuse me, and then I also get to work with operators. So I get both the things where I'm trying to build bridges and I'm trying to just come together. I'm trying to be the voice for them. And I'm also, trying to understand what they want out of the company or in terms of projects. So it's that relationship that I get to build, by simplifying things. I get to be in rooms where all this very important meeting is happening for the quarter. And I also get to be in a room where we have operators, where we can talk about anything. I can learn from them anything. And it's exciting. It's just that job. It exposes me to a lot of relationships, people, and it's I was not afraid. I think I was not afraid when I first came. I was just oblivious as to, I don't know what people are going to think of me. I don't know, because I'm the only person of color. I'm the only person who's openly and proudly a Muslim. But they're extremely sweet.
Oh,
So far, I've met so many kind people, so many nice people, and so many people are telling me, Arfa, you can do this. Let me help you do this. I'm like, okay, wonderful. And so it's going to work and meeting those people, being able to build relationships, and that fear that I once had, that not existing anymore. That fear
oh.
turning into curiosity is
Ooh,
what was, yeah.
you kind of came full circle with
Yes, we
curiosity.
did.
You started curious, and then yeah, some of those
And that
challenges
fear built
maybe,
in. Yeah.
right? Wow, that's wonderful. Wonderful. So it's such an awesome story when women like you and women in general, women of, Muslim communities or any communities with whatever type of diversity, when we can get more women in and allow them to do what they're curious about
Right.
and what they want to do as far as a career is concerned. What do you think is going to happen 10 years from now, 100 years from now, when more women have the ability to follow the career that they want?
I think I don't know if it's because I'm an optimistic person or I like to look at the positive side. I think it's now that we're addressing not just the challenges that women, not just women, before before COVID, even our male employees or male engineers, they could not express, they did not like the sign of being vulnerable or sharing their weaknesses or family struggles. But now we have everyone trying to be vulnerable and transparent. We're building relationships and an environment leadership wise where we are coming at work as humans with
Yes.
faults, with backgrounds. And I think now that we're bringing those transparent other issues, women are going to be feel more empowered. It's going to be easier for them because now the I would say that the factors or the constraints that was stopping them was on their way. It's kind of limited. I'm not going to say it's completely gone, but it's becoming more and more limited. I think now companies, organizations, startups, women's startups, they're making more and more platforms for other women. And we're realizing as we see that when women are in leadership positions, where women are in management positions, one of the things that used to be considered a weakness, which is empathy or empathizing, that is working as such a strength because you have managers who are acting on that empathy, who are using that empathy to make workplaces a better place, a better experience for the staffs and other employees. So I
Yeah.
think future wise, corporate or industry, I think we're off to hopefully a better time, a better start, leadership wise. And with this generation where we have generation of thinkers and people who are not afraid to innovate or not afraid to think outside the box. I think we hopefully have a more promising future.
Yeah. Because it changes everyone. I agree.
Yes.
By letting anyone express themselves and really follow their authentic self,
Right.
just truly helps everyone. Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
Well stated.
Thank you.
So, do you have an inspirational quote to share with the audience?
To be honest, I'm a person full of quotes, but I think this is in a speech that I heard, and this is out of my famous a very famous and one of my favorite filmmakers, Steven Spielberg. I think I remember him saying that um, in a moment, in a character defining moment, always choose to stick to your morals and choose to act on your empathy. I don't think it's if it's a complete quote, but I remember him saying that. And I always think about that, okay, this is my correct character defining moment, and I will choose to stick to my morals.
I love it. That's super powerful. Awesome. Well, Arfa, it has been a pleasure to hear your story and to get inspired from a lot of the things that you have done. And thank you for helping us understand a little bit more about Bangladesh and the hospitality that that culture brings to the world. I certainly will make sure that your contact information is in the show notes, and certainly will make a reference to SWE and whatever you want to there as well.
Yes. Thank you. I just want to bring some attention. I know that you're going to add that link on the captions. There are two links for donations. I think the first one is for our sororities global philanthropy, which is a school and buildings for women, children in Solu, Kenya, and it's basically focused on education for girls. And so, when you go to that link, it has all the details and everything and different ways you can help. The other one is for the International Rescue Committee, which International Rescue Committee, sorry, that we have, and it's actually all over the United States, but it works with refugees that come to the United States. And any way you can help different families, we're always trying to not just help them in their educational or transition into becoming an American, but also, helping them develop more educational and professional skills.
Awesome. I will definitely make sure that I have those links in the show notes to make it easy for people to donate.
Thank you so much.
And
And
thank you.
also, sorry,
Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
I forgot to mention it. Today's actually World Manufacturing Day. So
Oh,
happy World Manufacturing Day to all the manufacturing personnels out there. It's the fourth biggest industrial revolution, and as we get into more modernizing things, I'm thankful to everyone that's been part of this industry.
thank you. And thank you for calling attention to that. We talked about that before we went live, so I appreciate that. Arfa, it has been so wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for, having me here, for giving me this platform to talk about myself and also to bring everything that I wanted to say.
Awesome. Coffee Time with Kauffman is the comfortable place to discuss women's leadership because I am on a mission to help the world discover the truth about what women are capable of. When you are ready for your leadership mastery makeover, go to mariakaufman.com and click on Consult a Coach, where you can schedule time with me for an empowerment session. Have a great week. Enjoy your adventures and journey responsibly.